Lutheran Christianity is officially the largest religion in Sweden, with 6.2 million Swedish citizens being members of the Church of Sweden. The high membership figure is mainly due to the fact that until 1996 all newborn children with at least one parent being a member of the Church were also made members. Other Christian churches include the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. Islam is the second largest religion in Sweden, practiced by 5% of the population. The rest of the population are either irreligious or members of other religious groups. Sweden was Christianized from Norse paganism during a long period, not final until the 1130s. Since the 16th century, Sweden has been predominantly Lutheran. For the Protestant Reformation in the 1530s until 2000, the Lutheran Church of Sweden was the state church. As of 2015, 63.3% of Swedish citizens are members of the Church of Sweden, compared to over 95% in 1970 and 83% in 2000. Despite that, religion in Sweden plays a limited role compared to the European average, and even many church members participate in religious activities for only cultural reasons and do not believe in Christianity. Atheism and agnosticism are widespread in Swedish society. In a Eurobarometer poll in 2010, just 18% of Swedish citizens responded that they believe there is a God, although a further 45% answered that they believe there is some sort of spirit or life force. In a 2009 Gallup poll, 17% answered yes to the question, "Is religion an important part of your daily life?" A survey found that only 15% of Church of Sweden members actually believe in Jesus, while another 15% identified as atheists, and a quarter as agnostic. Less than 4% of the Church of Sweden membership attends public worship during an average week, about 2% are regular attendees. Some scholars consider the nation to be a place where religion is regarded with benign indifference. The history of the Jews in Sweden can be traced back to the 17th century, and there are about 20,000 ethnic Jews in Sweden today, of whom about 7,000 belong to a Jewish religious congregation. Because of immigration in the latter part of the 20th century, there is today a sizable minority of Muslims and Roman Catholics. History: Norse paganism. Before the 11th century, most Swedes adhered to Norse paganism, worshipping Aesir gods, with its center at the temple in Uppsala. The shape and location of this temple is sparsely documented, but it is referenced in the Norse sagas and Saxo Grammaticus as Gesta Danorum, and is also described by Adam of Bremen. It was probably destroyed by King Ingold I in 1087 during the last known battle between the pagans and the Christians. While Norse mythology as a distinct religion was officially deserted following the Christianization of Scandinavia, belief in many of its mythological creatures such as Tomter, trolls and dwarves lived on for a long time in Scandinavian folklore. As of 2009, there exists a small number of practicing Germanic neo-pagans adhering to the faiths and customs of Norse paganism, including the non-profit organization Swedish Fornsed Assembly and Community for Nordisk Sed. Christianity. The oldest evidence of Christian burial sites in Sweden are dated to the 6th century, but they are very few in number. The earliest documented campaign to Christianize the territory that form what today is the country of Sweden was made by the monk Ansgar, making his first visit to Birka in 828 to 829. He was granted permission to build a church. In 831, he returned home and became Archbishop of Hamburg-Bremen, with responsibility for Christianity in the north. Around 850, he came back to Birka, where the original congregation had been shattered. Ansgar tried to re-establish it, but it only lasted a few years. Christianity first gained a hold in Västergötland, probably due to mercantile ties to the Christian Anglo-Saxon kingdoms in England. Remnants of a 9th-century church building has recently been excavated in Varnhem. The Diocese of Skara, which is the oldest diocese in Sweden, emerged due to organizational efforts from the Archdiocese of Hamburg-Bremen in the late 10th century. According to Adam of Bremen, the Christian king Olaf Konung, who ruled from c. 995 to c. 1022, was forced to limit Christian activities to the western province. When King Stenkel ascended to the throne in 1060, Christianity was firmly established throughout most of Sweden, although the people of Uppland, and probably Södermanland, resisted the new religion. The last king adhering to the old religion was Blockswain, who reigned 1084 to 1087. A handful of local saints, folk saints and clerics were allegedly martyred as late as the 1120s, most of them in Södermanland and Uppland. The reign of Erik the Saint became afterwards the subject of ideologically driven legendary embellishment. According to legend, Erik also undertook the First Swedish Crusade, a military expedition aiming to convert the Finns to Christianity and conquering Finland as Swedish territory. A national church of Sweden was not organized until 1164, when the first Archbishop of Uppsala received his pallium from the Archbishop of Lund. Pre-Reformation Swedish religious leaders, including Bridget of Sweden, founder of the continuously functioning Roman Catholic Abbey at Vadstena, continue to be held in high regard by the population as a whole. A nunnery at Vadstena is one of Sweden's preeminent tourist attractions. Lutheran Reformation. The Protestant Reformation in Sweden is generally regarded as a political tool used by the king to secure control over the church and its assets. Shortly after Gustav Vasa was elected king in 1523, he requested that the Pope would confirm Johannes Magnus as Archbishop of Sweden, replacing Gustav Trolle, who had supported the Danish king Christian II and was convicted for treason. When the Pope refused, Gustav Vasa, although himself a proponent of Renaissance biblical humanism, rather than being a Lutheran confessionalist, started to promote the Swedish Lutheran reformers Olaus Laurentius Petri and Laurentius André. Gustav Trolle was eventually forced into exile, and soon all ecclesiastical property was transferred to the crown. In 1531, Laurentius Petri was appointed by the crown to become the first Lutheran primate of Sweden, and was ordained by 5 Catholic bishops without papal assent. The ties with Rome were irreversibly cut in 1536, when canon law was abolished. Originally, no changes were made to official church doctrine, and the episcopal organization was retained. Gradually, in spite of popular protests against the introduction of Lutheran teachings were aligned with continental Lutheranism. Calvinism was, however, refuted as heresy at the Synod of Stockholm in 1565. In order to appease the Holy See, King John III of Sweden, one of Gustav Vasa's sons, took measures to bring the church to a theological position influenced by George Cassander, but, in the heat of controversy, such a compromised position did not achieve its intent of reunion. However, after his death, his brother, Duke Charles, summoned the Uppsala Synod in 1593, which declared the Holy Scriptures the sole guideline for faith, with 4 documents accepted as faithful and authoritative explanations of it: the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, the Athanasian Creed, and the unaltered Augsburg Confession of 1530. The Uppsala Synod also reinstated the Swedish Church Ordinance of 1572, which remained in use until 1686. The move put Charles at odds with the heir to the throne, his nephew Sigismund, who was raised in the Catholic faith. Although Sigismund promised to uphold Lutheranism, Duke Charles's aspirations to power led to the war against Sigismund, a power struggle that was effectively decided at the Battle of Stang-Ebro in 1598 in favor of Charles and Protestantism. During the era following the Reformation, usually known as the period of Lutheran Orthodoxy, small groups of non-Lutherans, especially Calvinist Dutchmen, the Moravian Church and Walloons of French Huguenots from Belgium, played a significant role in trade and industry, and were quietly tolerated as long as they kept a low religious profile. The Sami originally had their own shamanistic religion, but they were converted to Lutheranism by Swedish missionaries in the 17th and 18th centuries. Citizens of foreign nations, mainly Russians, were granted freedom to practice Eastern Orthodox Christianity since the Treaty of Stolbovo in 1617. Anglican and Reformed foreigners were granted freedom to practice the religions in Stockholm and Gothenburg. Similar liberties were granted Roman Catholics in 1781, and an apostolic vicar was sent to Sweden in 1783. Liberalisation and other faiths. In order to curb pietism, several royal decrees and acts of parliament were proclaimed in the 18th century, which forbade Swedish citizens to practice any religion besides mandatory Lutheran Sunday Mass attendance and daily family divisions. Without the presence of a Lutheran clergyman, public religious gatherings were forbidden. It remained illegal until 1860 for Lutheran Swedes to convert to another confession or religion, for then, and until 1951, it was legal to leave the Church of Sweden for the purpose of becoming a member of another officially recognized religious denomination. From 1951, it is legal to leave the Church without giving a reason. From 1951 and until 1977, religious communities were not to be established without the permission of the Crown, but that clause was abolished in 1977. Religion in Sweden today. The Constitution provides for freedom of religion, and the government generally respects this right in practice. The government at all levels seeks to protect this right in full and does not tolerate its abuse, either by governmental or private actors. The rights and freedoms enumerated in the Constitution include the rights to practice one's religion and protection of religious freedom. The laws concerning religious freedoms are generally observed and enforced at all government levels and by the courts in a non-discriminatory fashion. Legal protections cover discrimination or persecution by private actors. In 2000, 82.9% of Swedes belonged to the Church of Sweden. By the end of 2015, this figure had fallen to 63.2%. The percentage of Swedes belonging to the Church of Sweden is decreasing yearly by more than 1%. The Church of Sweden services are sparsely attended. The reason for the large number of inactive members is partly that until 1996, children became members automatically at birth if at least one of the parents was a member. Since 1996, only children that are baptized become members. In 2009, nearly 72,000 Swedes left the Church of Sweden, considerably more than in 2008 when 50,504 Swedes left the Church of Sweden. Some 275,000 Swedes are today members of various free churches, and, in addition, Immigration has meant that there are now some 92,000 Roman Catholics and 100,000 Eastern Orthodox Christians living in Sweden. Because of immigration, Sweden also has a significant Muslim population. As many as 500,000 are Muslims by tradition, and between 80,000 and 400,000 of these are practicing Muslims. 8 recognized religious denominations, in addition to the Church of Sweden, raise revenues through member contributions made through the national tax system. All recognized denominations are entitled to direct government financial support, contributions made through the national tax system, or a mix of both. Certain Christian religious holy days are national holidays. School students from minority religious backgrounds are entitled to take relevant religious holidays. No recognition or registration is required to carry out religious activity. Religious groups that want to receive government aid may apply for it. The government considers the number of members in the group and its length of establishment, but applies no specific criteria. Education about all major world religions is compulsory in public schools. Parents may send their children to religious charter schools, all of which receive school voucher, provided they adhere to government guidelines on core academic curriculum. The Office of the Ombudsman Against Ethnic Discrimination investigates claims of discrimination due to race, skin color, national or ethnic origin, or religion. Discrimination on religious grounds is illegal, including discrimination in the workplace and in the provision of public and private services. According to the Eurobarometer poll 2010, 18% of Swedish citizens responded that they believe there is a God. 45% answered that they believe there is some sort of spirit or life force. 34% answered that they do not believe there is any sort of spirit, God, or life force. According to the Eurobarometer poll 2012, the religions in Sweden have the following: Protestants 41%, Orthodox 1%, Catholics 2%, other Christian 9%, Buddhist 1%, other 3%. The remainder of the population is irreligious, either atheists or agnostics. According to a Demoscope study in 2015 about the beliefs of the Swedish showed that 21% believed in a god, 16% believed in ghosts, 14% believed in creationism or intelligent design. Phil Zuckerman, an associate professor of sociology at Pitzer College, writes that academic sources have in recent years placed atheism rates as high as 85%, while other sources report that only 17% of respondents self-identified as atheist. Sweden ranks high along with Germany, France, Japan, South Korea, the Czech Republic, Estonia and the Netherlands on having a large number of citizens who have no religion. An article on Sweden's official website asserts that just 3 out of 10 Swedes state that they have confidence in the Church. The article lists the following facts about religion in Sweden. Only 1 in 10 Swedes thinks religion is important in daily life. About 5 out of 10 children are christened in the Church of Sweden. Just over 3 out of 10 weddings take place in church. Almost 8 out of 10 Swedes have Christian burials. Islam has around 130,000 adherents in Sweden. Christianity. Church of Sweden. The Church of Sweden is the largest Christian church in Sweden. The church professes the Lutheran faith and is a member of the Porvoo Communion. With 6,225,091 baptized members, it is the largest Lutheran church in the world. Although combined, there are more Lutherans in the member churches of the Evangelical Church in Germany. Until 2000 it held the position of state church. As of 2013, 66% of Sweden's population belonged to the Church. However, only approximately 2% of the Church's members regularly attend Sunday services. The Church of Sweden, by law, is organized in the following manner. It is an evangelical Lutheran community of faith manifested in parishes and dioceses. The Church also has a national organization. It is an open national church which, working with a democratic organization and through the ministry of the Church, covers the whole nation. The primate of the Church of Sweden is the Archbishop of Uppsala, currently anti-Jacqueline. Roman Catholicism. Adherents of the Roman Catholic Church in Sweden account for 2% of the population. Most adherents are of Slavic, Latin, or Middle Eastern origin. Free churches. The 19th century saw the arrival of various evangelical free churches, and, towards the end of the century, secularism, leading many to distance themselves from church rituals. Leaving the Church of Sweden became legal with the so-called Dissenter Law of 1860, but only under the provision of entering another denomination. The right to stand outside any religious denomination was established in the Law on Freedom of Religion in 1951. Today, the Swedish Free Church Council organizes free churches in Sweden, belonging to various Protestant denominations, Reformed, Pentecostal, etc. In total, the member churches have around 250,000 members. Baptists, Methodists and the Mission Covenant Church of Sweden merged in 2011 into a new denomination, Uniting Church in Sweden. It is the largest member church in the Swedish Free Church Council, with approximately 65,000 members. One of the Baptist denominations, Evangelical Free Church in Sweden, has remained an independent denomination outside this merger. Jehovah's Witnesses. According to the 2015 Yearbook of Jehovah's Witnesses, there are 22,730 active members in Sweden, and 36,270 people attended their annual memorial of Christ's death. This number includes active members and guests. Islam. The Baltic Tatars were the first Muslim group in modern Sweden. The faith arrived in the country primarily through immigration from countries with large Muslim populations in the late 20th century. In 2007, the filmmaking Heart was released, documenting the lives of young Swedish jihadis. In 2009, a report made a statement that there are 450,000 to 500,000 Muslims in Sweden, around 5% of the total population, and that the Muslim Council of Sweden reported 106,327 officially registered members. Judaism. The official Council of Swedish Jewish Communities estimates about 20,000 ethnic Jews in Sweden pass the halakhic criteria. Of those, about 7,000 are members of a Jewish religious congregation. Stockholm has the largest community and boasts a primary school, kindergarten, library, a bi-monthly publication and a weekly Jewish radio program. But Malmö, Gothenburg, Borås, Helsingborg, Lund, and Uppsala all have Jewish communities as well. Synagogues can be found in Stockholm, Göteborg, Malmö and in Norrköping.